How's that for a quick intro? Hey, everyone, welcome to episode 222 of the All Dolphins podcast on this Wednesday, February 14th.
It's Valentine's Day.
Have to do this one more time. Have to do this. Come
It's
on.
the biggest scam of all days in the American calendar. Valentine's Day, one-sided holiday, fake love. But it is my son's birthday. Happy birthday, Taylor Kelly. He
Happy
turns
birthday, Taylor.
22. Old man.
Old man, yes.
Yes.
Which tells us something about Omar's age. No, we're not going there. We're definitely not going there with the age. So history lesson time. I like this when we get to like the very recent
22. That's
2022. The arrival of Mike McDaniel as head coach hired in February after his time with the San Francisco 49ers. It also was the offseason that brought Tyreek Hill in a trade from the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hold on, you're glossing over the arrival of Mike McDaniel.
I just said that.
Skirting through the courtship of Sean Payton, where he basically had a holding pattern for, what was it, 10 days? Before we, basically were told that New Orleans was not going to let him out of his contract. And then Dolphins got pow for tampering for the courtship of not just Sean Payton, but Tom Brady.
Mm-hmm.
And that marriage didn't work out. And then subsequently, the Miami Dolphins said, you know what? We're going to go with this young, green, unproven whippersnapper who, even though there were 8 head coach openings out there, we're the only team that interviewed him. And he's going to be 1 for 1 of head coach interviews, getting the very first and only job that he interviewed for.
Damn.
What is the damn for?
No. I mean,
did I tell a lie?
You presented that way is interesting. Yeah, as it turns out, yes, the Saints had refused the Dolphins' permission to interview Sean Payton,
and they did it behind their back anyway.
Something like that, I guess. But again, and as with the trade for Tyreek Hill, which pretty big, and full disclosure, it happened during spring break. I was on. This is going to come as a surprise to you, Omar.
Disney World.
Yeah, with the fam when it went down, and I'm trying to remember if I had, for some reason, if I had my iPod with me or my iPad with me, or I wrote the story on my phone or something like that. But I had to write the story while on our Disney World vacation because
were you in line for like whatever mountain? I don't even know Disney World because I haven't been in
Splash Mountain or Space Mountain.
I couldn't tell you. And the funny thing is, I'm going to Orlando this weekend, and I'm not going to Disney World. My daughter's too young for that. I don't want to subject myself to it. And then the Disney World prices, it's like, what is it, $200 to get in a park?
No. It's not $200. No. My wife takes care of the arrangements when we go.
She just doesn't tell you the real price.
No, but I can see what they are. That's like 120 something, I think, for Florida residents per day. But you can always get packages for like 3 or 4 days where it becomes a little more reasonable. But it's not cheap. And you're probably right. Mila being 2, probably wouldn't enjoy it to its fullest. And
yeah, I'm gonna wait. And we're going there for my brother's 50th birthday. Happy birthday to Douglas Kelly. He's vice president of legal affairs for AAA, big time lawyer in Orlando. So looking forward to celebrating his 50th there. My date is going to be a 3-year-old toddler. Yes.
Nothing wrong with that. That works.
Family affair. But happy Valentine's Day to everybody. We still haven't finished the season.
Correct. 2022.
The reset of the reset. See? You see how I did that right there?
Yes,
you like that?
Good. Very good. The adjustment in the middle of the reset.
Yes.
Out with Brian Flores, in with Mike McDaniel, in with Tyreek Hill, which came at a cost.
F them picks mentality, which
there you go.
A new approach.
There you go. And 3-0 start to the season. Then came the concussion issues with Tua, starting with that Thursday night game at Cincinnati.
Hey, you're glossing over the fact that he's the hottest quarterback in the NFL when he was playing.
Except he wasn't. He had the monster game in week 2 at Baltimore. I will grant you that. The Dolphins won week 3 against Buffalo because the Bills kept leaving points on the field. And
he still did it, didn't he?
Okay. No, he didn't. He and the team did with him starting quarterback when he had basically one big play in the game. It was a long pass to Jalen Waddle that set up the game-winning touchdown. But this was a game again. Dolphins got outgained 497 to 212. Yes, I remember the numbers off the top of my head because it's so mind-blowing. And they squeaked out a 21-19 win. Then came the concussion issues. Dolphins wound up dropping to 3-3. And again, because this needs mentioning, and it wasn't strictly that Tua was out, it was also that they had a mid-game quarterback change. The other 2 games they lost after Tua left, which were against the New York Jets and the Minnesota Vikings. Because people immediately just go, Dolphins can't win without Tua. Again, there were factors. The defense did not create a single takeaway in any of those games that the Dolphins lost without Tua. So it wasn't as simple as Tua out, Dolphins lose. Anyway, Tua came back in a Sunday night game against the Steelers. Did not look good in the least. Dolphins managed to squeak out a 16-10 win, I want to say the score was. Basically because they had 3 picks and the Steelers kept dropping their potential interceptions. That was the difference in the game. Dolphins then ran off 4 more wins, got to 8-3, and then they were balling. And then Tua was in the MVP conversation again because he started playing really, really. There he was really balling. But then came December, San Francisco, the Chargers, Buffalo, Green Bay, 4 straight losses, 8-7. Teddy Bridgewater starts against New England. Again, another mid-game quarterback change. The Dolphins lose. They squeak by the ugliness of the regular season finale against the Jets with Skylar Thompson at quarterback. Mind you, the only game without Tua where there was no mid-game quarterback change, and lo and behold, the Dolphins won that game.
Oh, come on.
Pure coincidence, I'm sure.
11-6 win. It was they
backed no. That's 2022 I'm talking about.
Yeah. 11-6 win.
They weren't 11-6, they were 9-8.
No, I'm saying the score was 11-6.
Oh, it was 11-6, correct. But
they backed into the playoffs. Then they put a spirited effort together late, but they lost, and it was a disappointment of a season. But ultimately, it was the 3rd of 4 consecutive winning seasons for the franchise. And that's a step in the right direction for a franchise that's been mediocre for the last 2 decades.
Sure. And they almost won the playoff game at Buffalo because the defense came up with 3 takeaways, and they also got a 50-yard punt return by Cedric Wilson, which goes to show that it's an all-around team when we're talking one loss.
I mean, it is always an all-around team, but then when we're talking about why the team doesn't advance or doesn't win, it always comes back to a certain individual, and it is all about team. But let's move the page.
That's a different conversation. And by the way, you can find on alldolphins.com. Go ahead, Omar. That's your cue.
Give me a second. You got me unprepared. There you go.
I wrote something that I want people to read, and I did not even come up with a verdict. I posed a question as to whether the Tyreek Hill trade, which was again 2 years ago, so that's why I'm bringing it up now, by the Dolphins really was a win-win. We know it was a win for Kansas City because it gave them the cap flexibility and the draft picks. They won the Super Bowl.
Saying it wasn't a win for the Dolphins?
I am posing the question. I don't know. I don't think it's a slam dunk that you think it is. And as I said, one of the lines in my analysis piece, it is fair to wonder whether that was a slam dunk win for the Dolphins. Yes.
You have a top 10 offensive player on your team, the guy who helps deliver the #1 offense in the NFL, and you think this is a bad thing?
I didn't say it was a bad thing.
And you know Chris Greer's draft history, which means you could be pissing away those draft picks. And you really, really want to say that Tyreek isn't a slam dunk? Or
as a win for the Dolphins? I absolutely will not say it was a slam dunk. Hear me out. What was their record the 2 years prior to Tyreek? 9-8. Hold on. No. Hold on. 10-6 and 9-8 with Tyreek. 11-6 and 9-8. It's the same record except for the fact they play one more game in 2020.
It's personnel. It's not just the Tyreek. Tyreek is literally the only reason that this franchise is relevant.
And in fact, that word right there, relevant, is a part of my analysis piece. But are we putting a team together to be relevant, or are we putting a team to win the playoffs? There's still no playoffs. You
need to say who's doing it. Whose agenda is this? Is this you really got to be specific?
In the initial SR, that's
it's totally relevant. It's totally relevant.
Correct.
Yeah, totally relevant.
It's SR who wants to be relevant.
Yes, absolutely.
But here's the thing.
Only one team wins a championship.
Sorry?
Only one team wins a championship per year. And usually that team has an elite quarterback or an elite defense and elite running game.
Correct. But here's my question, though. And picking back to that, now that they've done this for 2 years in a row, caught everybody's attention through
hottest team in the NFL, one of the hottest teams in the NFL.
Through November, correct. And this year was even more so because they had that crazy game against Denver. In 2022, it was the crazy game at Baltimore.
TV networks love them.
I understand that. But at what point, for example, they could start off 10-0 next year. What's the narrative going to be?
How are they going to finish in December? Yeah.
All right. And so now, how long do they stay relevant without any sort of December, January success?
I don't know. When we get there, we'll get there.
But is that not a legitimate question?
It's a legitimate question. I'm not living in December. I'm living in this off season, and they got a whole lot of work to do to build a roster. And I'm not worried about December when they can barely balance their books in March. I
agree with you, but it's almost, to me, it's almost like,
okay, you'd be 5 wins if you didn't have Tyreek.
But you didn't have Tyreek, and you won 10 and 9 games the 2 years before that.
Totally different.
That's.
I don't know. We'll see. If Tyreek wasn't here, Cedric Wilson would be your number 2 wide receiver, and I'm sorry that's not winning anything. There's so many changes to your roster made over the years. It's hard to sit here and say that, Tyreek, are they better or worse without Tyreek? I'm sorry. Nobody's losing when they have a top 10 play. Nobody's losing in the equation if they end up with a top 10 player. And yes, the Chiefs have won 2 championships without Tyreek, but I'm sorry. They got a Hall of Fame head coach, a Hall of Fame quarterback, a Hall of Fame tight end, Hall of Fame defensive lineman, great defensive coordinator. There's a lot there. I
don't disagree with that. But here's another point, because you mentioned, okay, so Cedric Wilson's your number 2 wide receiver if they don't make the trade.
Correct.
They also they retain all that cap space hold on, before you shake your head and go like this,
you act like they would do anything with that cap space.
Okay, hold on.
You act like they would do anything wise with that cap space. Let me correct my statement.
Okay, hold on. Here's another point that I bring up. Do we not agree and acknowledge that part of their issues right now and getting further is the style of play is not conducive necessarily to long-term offense?
But playoff football.
Okay. Is it not possible?
Except for the 49ers play the same style of play. They just do it differently.
They have a little bit more physicality. But you're not totally wrong, but they have a little bit more physicality. Is it possible?
Physicality.
Is it possible that once they made the trade for Tyreek, with all the commitments and draft capital and cap space, that they kind of locked themselves into playing that basically track meet type of football?
No, I think Mike McDaniel just became obsessed with it because he had 2 track meet type players, and then he added a 3 track meet type players, including Raheem Mostert, and then he added a 4th in Devon Achane. I think he fell in love with it, became obsessed with it. It's delivered the number 1 offense. And I said this in my conversations with Chris Perkins yesterday. I did a Perks show.
Don't promote another podcast on here, Damn you!
It's all about podcast love, brother.
Here we go. Here we go.
Listen, and we're gonna have
Here we go.
We're gonna have an epic podcast later today for people on Thursday. Then we're gonna do it some more. We're bringing podcasts together. We're to give your podcast love. One day I'm gonna be able to make hearts.
And we found out yesterday it's not the background. Apparently it's a Mac thing. He says, see, no, it's not doing it.
I got a Mac. What the hell?
I don't know, Curtin. See, now I'm deciding not to do it.
Because you're not doing your heart right. You're not creating your little thing.
Stop it. There we go.
Hey, here's the thing. I was saying this to Perk. I can't sit here and tell you that it's the style, but I will say I'd love for them to add more physicality to their team. Go get Derrick Henry. Sorry, give him $7 million a year. Give him a 2-year, $14 million deal, half of it guaranteed. He's not going to make $9 million, $8 million out there. He's going to make what Cook made, and add him to your team. I understand that challenges Raheem. I love what's that face for? What is that face for?
That he's not getting more than Dalvin Cook. He's a better player than Dalvin Cook at this stage.
Yeah, but he's also in the 2,000 carry club. Do you know what happens to backs who've had 2,000 carries?
Frank Gore, baby. Frank Gore.
Well, wow. You're going to throw Frank Gore in my face. Okay. All right. I see what you did there. No, all right. I will back down. But are we really putting Derrick Henry? Frank Gore lasted as long as he did because Frank Gore had Lamb's vision and he never took a direct hit. How many direct hits did Derrick Henry taken? How many direct hits has he given throughout his career?
Yeah.
Probably like 1,200 of that 2,000 carries. So it's a different ball game. You threw me a monkey wrench, but it's a different. Frank Gore might have taken 300 direct hits because he was so good at wiggling out of contact. But hey, it's not about the back. It's about the changing of styles and identities. And you get Derrick Henry, you bring that sledgehammer, it changes how teams view you. So anyway.
I will maintain my point, and I encourage everybody to check it out.
Read it, but it's crazy. It's crazy people talk. What do you expect from that guy over there? That guy right there. Crazy people talk. The Tyreek might not be a good trade.
Read it and decide.
And you're going to be restructuring Tyreek this offseason, making him the highest paid receiver in the NFL. So you better kiss him and make up and tell him how great he is.
That's just me. I don't need to do that. The Dolphins need to do that. I don't need to do that. And it's nothing personal. And shockingly enough, I'm sure this is going to surprise a lot of Dolphin fans. I am all about the best interests of this franchise. I am not attached. I am not attached.
Dollar.
Sorry?
I said, benefits your bottom dollar.
Ding, 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 ding. Johnny Olsen, tell him what he's won. I'm not attached to any player, any individual in the organization.
You can't name me a better player that you could have traded for that's not a quarterback. Sorry. Name one.
Aaron Donald.
Nope.
Oh, I disagree. Again,
you can probably trade Aaron Donald right now if you want to.
Well, yeah, but that's 2 more years down the road, and he's on the back 9. He's playing the 15th hole. No, Christian McCaffrey. You can make an argument for Christian McCaffrey. I mean,
oh come on! I'm picking Tyreek. Christian McCaffrey was given an fire sale by Carolina, huh?
I understand what Tyreek does and who he is, and I'm the one who's been championing him. I'm the one who said
that's why I think you're being disrespectful.
How am I being disrespectful? Why is it that I am bringing up something to make people think again? As great, as wonderful, as fantastic as Tyreek Hill has been for the Dolphins. And I just realized I forgot to mention something in my analysis piece, which was bad on. I'm going to have to go back and adjust it. His style of play is also not conducive to lasting. And hold on. He's completely strong. Has he not dealt with lower leg issues at the end of each season of his 2 seasons?
2 seasons of 7 years.
But they're his 2 seasons with the Dolphins.
Okay. And He got banged in the knee. What do you want him to do?
Again, with the high volume of targets he's going to get.
Okay.
That's bound to happen. And again, I don't think it's crazy. And again, to me, the bottom line is, as marvelous as he's been. Sorry?
It's crazy.
Bottom line, last two years without him, 10-6, 9-8. 2 years with him, 9-8, 11-6.
And I could say anyway.
No, say it. Go ahead.
No. Because doesn't help the argument. It's a complete team evolution. The team during Brian Flores is a completely different team than the team with Mike McDaniel. If Brian Flores was still here and we were still doing what we were doing there, it would have taken a downward swing. I can't really sit here and say, oh, you're not that much better without Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is a top 10 player. You cannot name me 10 players better than him in the NFL. No, and he was literally on pace for 2,000 yards, about to set an NFL record.
No argument there. He
made you the number one offense. Him, I can't even sit there and say it's Tua. Yeah, I said it.
Whoa, no, come on, that deserves.
Yeah, so how could he not be? I don't even know the draft picks that were given up, but I don't care because they don't draft very well, so it doesn't make a difference. What is it?
1, 2, 4, 4, and 6.
Whatever.
No, it wasn't crazy, and I said that at the time. In terms of draft pick compensation, no issue there. But again,
for the Dolphins, that's like the equivalent of 2 starters.
Facts are the facts. And did I not hear at the end of the 2021 season how horrible? Because I'm going to keep it PG, because that's not the word that it was more like horse manure. The offense was, which was what was keeping Tua down. And yet with that horrible offense, with nothing around QB1, the Dolphins still won 9-8.
That we're talking about 2022. They went 11-6 this year. So step in the right direction despite belly flopping the final 3 games of the season. Which I'm not even going to mention.
And they were 10-6 in 2020.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to what we're here to talk about, because I don't want to
check it out. I ask everyone, please check it out and read it before you comment either on Twitter or here. And
they're not going to do that.
I know, because that's what I always love is the comments of like, you're crazy, it's stupid, and they present this argument, which is something I literally wrote. So anyway, read it and then feel free to blast me.
There's also on alldolphins.com a story about the hiring of a former Seattle Seahawks player / coach who's joining the secondary to address. Did you realize a lot of these coaches in the secondary coaches in the defense have been swapped out?
Oh, yeah. The only one left, I believe, is Austin Clark.
Yeah. I'm like, that's interesting. But anyway,
Ryan Slowick also.
Yes. Let's get into what we're here to do, which is on Valentine's Day. You see the red, an expression of love for your beloved franchise. We're both going to give you a list of 5 reasons that you should love the Dolphins. Dolphins organizations, Dolphins 2023 team. And would you like me to start, or are we?
Yes, because I haven't done my homework, and all I'm going to say is what Omar said.
Okay, let me start with my number 5 reason why I think you should. Yes, I'm going backwards. I'm doing it fancy style. Okay. Number 5 reason why you should love the Miami Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa can be special. He's shown you that on a collegiate level. He's shown you that in his early period of his NFL career. Top passer rating in 2022. Passing, top yardage producer in 2023. Set and broken a ton of Dolphins records held by the great Dan Marino. We know how productive Dan Marino is. Yes, this is a different era of football. Tua can be special. Now, accuracy, precision passing, pocket presence. Can he be clutch? Jury's still out. We will figure that out. Can he be an elite quarterback that leads you to championships? We're still figuring that out. But I think one of the 5 reasons is you're not dealing with just a guy at quarterback. This isn't Ryan Tannehill. Now the question is, can he continue to improve and ascend and be in 2024, which is my expectation, a clear top 5 quarterback, which, won't be easy, but that's the goal. My number 4 reason why you should love the Miami Dolphins is particularly heading into 2024, they should have a top 5 offense in 2024, no matter what they do, because obviously they got to patch up the offensive line. They got to probably add a slot receiver, actually a good one. And they got to figure out a way to become a more physical team. But you had the number 6 offense in 2022. You had the number 1 offense in 2023. Hopefully, if Tua is here, healthy, available, if the offensive line can protect and has a little bit of consistency to them, you should deliver another top 5 offense. My number 3 reason why you should love the Miami Dolphins and love the situation that you're in is because, 1, you live in South Florida, or your team is in South Florida. And as a team that's in South Florida, 1, players are lining up to come play for the Miami Dolphins if the money is right. Agents beg for the Miami Dolphins to be in the bidding and in the conversation and to draw interest on their clients, because they know that raises the price, because Steve Ross is a big bidder, or has the reputation as a big bidder. You got no in-state taxes. You're one of, I believe, 4 teams without in-state taxes. And no, not 4. It's got to be 5. Seattle, the Texas teams, and then
Vegas.
Oh, Vegas too? Oh, okay. So 6. How many? 2, 3 in state? 7. So 7 teams.
Oh, because the 3 in Florida,
yeah. We got 3 in here.
I forget about the Bucs and the Jaguars sometimes.
Yeah, and when you, having covered the NFL for 16 years, as I've done, I have realized that generally about 40% of the league lives here in South Florida in the offseason. And about 60% of the league lives in Florida in totality, Tampa area, Jacksonville area, just because great training, great lifestyle. So to have a team here, a number of times you end up with the players just because they don't want to relocate during the season and their kids are old enough and they're in school and they want to play here. They want to play where it's home. So that's number 1 reason. It's always led to success for this franchise generally. Now, some people do want to come here for the lifestyle, and that's a little bit tricky and a little bit dangerous. But my number 2 reason that you should love this franchise is because, despite what you want to believe, this organization from top down, they're about selling hope. And they're very good at it. They're masters of selling hope. And to sell you hope, they have to deliver you a big ticket item, a big free agent. It's not going to be a re-signing Christian Wilkins. It's not going to be a Tua Tagovailoa. It's going to be a Jalen Ramsey. It's going to be Vic Fangio. Do I know what that hope is at this present moment? I do not. But I know that Steve Ross has a mandate. If I'm going to spend $100 million just to get us to the point where we can actually spend some money, when I say spend $100 million, I'm saying the checks that he's going to have to write just to clear off another credit card for Chris Greer to go spend. He's going to want a big ticket item, whether it be Aaron Donald, Chris Jones, the linebacker from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know who it's going to be. But knowing this franchise, knowing how they operate, and knowing who Steve Ross is, he wants himself a whale. And that's what he needs to sell hope. And the number 1 reason for me why you should love this franchise or have an appreciation for it is because Steve Ross is the owner and he loves to spend. Or he believes that free agency, and he has never cut a corner when it came to putting this franchise together. He has never spared an expense. And there are a lot of franchises who cannot say the same thing. And That's just the reality of it, and you got to appreciate that and learn to not take it for granted, because we've got franchises in this state that certainly do not operate that way. That's my top 5 list.
Okay. Okay, mine is more like jumbo. Again, I didn't do my homework. Shame on Alan.
You got a big tennis match today. You better go take care of business. Okay?
I do, but I wrote it down, and you came up with two things that I did have on my list. Number one is the fact that Dolphins will always be an appealing destination for free agents, and the number one reason, there's no state income tax, and the weather is a lot more ideal than being in a blizzard.
I said this on the Joe Rose show, and it caught me a ton of criticism because people think that players are chasing rings and are obsessed with rings and championships. And I'm like, players care about money. That's it.
And again, it's not a blanket statement. It's not 100% of the players, but the vast majority of the players, that's going to be the number one key in their free agency decision. That I completely agree with you. And then there'll be some, so let's say 80%, if not more, will be about the money. 10% might be about the best fit for them for playing time, for opportunity. And then you'll have another segment will be where they think they can win a ring. And then you'll have another very small slice. They want to go back home or play for somebody or with somebody. But overwhelmingly, yeah, it's about chasing the money, and there's nothing wrong with that. That was number one. Number two, and I combined it as well with the fact that the Dolphins have an owner who is not afraid to show me the money. I mean, Stephen Ross is not afraid to show me the money. Say whatever you want about him, about some of the decisions he's made. You can never accuse this guy of well, he's not spending, so that's why the Dolphins are winning. No.
Tell me the time that he has scrimped or spared an expense or not done it, or said, I don't think it's worth it. No, if they tell him that that's what they want to do, he's like, all right, how much do I need to write?
First example being Nick Saban saying we need an indoor practice facility. Boom, let's build one right next to Nova Southeastern. Voila, no problem.
A property they don't own.
Correct.
They lease.
Correct. And now he built another one at the Baptist Health Training Complex in Miami Gardens, which is completely outrageous. I mean,
everything is first class over there.
Correct.
It's state of the art. Even the view, just everything about I say this, I think I've said this on Twitter, and I really want to put do you realize that there are gardeners there every single day?
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever paid attention to that?
I have, and I'm jealous, actually.
Yeah, literally, there are gardeners that work at the facility every single day. It's not like they come once a week and tend to the garden or tend to the yard. No, it's gardeners there every single day.
Yep.
That's first class.
Okay. My number 3 on my list, and again, I'm not like Omar, who was very well organized. It's not necessarily in a specific order, but I also have, here's one thing I'm going to mention, home field advantage.
Okay.
The Dolphins will always succeed more often than not in early season home games up until the halfway point of the season. And I don't know, you have to have lived in South Florida for a certain period of time to appreciate what it's like to being out in the open sun as opposed to being in the shade. And if you don't think that makes a big difference in a football game, I don't know what to tell you. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
the stadium is strategically designed to shade the Dolphins and roast the opponent at 1 o'clock.
I mean, it's crazy. And I know Dolphin fans are very big on pushing back at Bills fans who complain about it, and they go back, well, what about playing in the snow in Buffalo? The difference is you play in the snow in Buffalo, the conditions that night are the same for both teams. There's no difference. Whereas in Miami in September, when that sun's beating down, I mean, it's
unfair. It truly is.
I mean, oh my God. I'm semi-surprised that nobody has filed a complaint to the league office. I mean, it's completely nuts. And I believe is our friend Chris Brown from the Bills, who told us there's a rule that if the Dolphins don't use their fans on the sideline, the other teams can, or something like that. I mean, that's crazy. That's completely crazy. And
I'm laughing because I find it really truly hilarious. It literally when you're at the stadium and it's 1:45 and the game is playing, you could look at the stadium. I think I'm taking a picture, and the Dolphin sideline is completely shaded, and then the opponent is roasting in the sun. Yes.
Yep. No, it's completely nuts. And I might make that point that game against Denver in 2023, maybe it doesn't get completely out of control if it's a December game or something where it's not completely. I think part of it is the Dolphins were operating, at full efficiency that day. They were brilliant. Denver had issues on defense, and I think there came a point in the second half that A, they were demoralized, and B, they were like sucking wind bad. Yeah. So that combination. So anyway, this is great for the Dolphins. They're always going to have, to me, that's the biggest home field advantage in the NFL.
All right.
Dolphin home games in September in the day.
Final two.
Okay, my final two. I'm going to go with Mike McDaniel. He's just fun. He's just a fun coach. He is so typically not like cookie cutter in terms of NFL head coaches. And I love his aggressiveness. I don't like dealing with coaches who are like, oh, it's 4th and 1, we got to punt. It's got to be within reason. Dan Campbell in the playoffs. But I love the fact that he's completely always aggressive and he's going to go for it. Is he perfect as a head coach? No, nobody's perfect.
Sidebar. Would you, if you were the 49ers, would you have gone for it on 4th down in regulation and overtime?
Great question. That's a great question. I think there's absolutely some merit to that because you're going against the GOAT over there. Then again, if you know what, I think I would have been inclined to, because if you don't get it, you got him pinned back to the 9. Even though chances are,
if that was in regulation, what about? You would have done it
overtime. In regulation, you had no choice at that point. I think you need to kick the field goal.
But then all they needed was a field goal if you had them pinned it at 9.
No, correct. It's a bad situation either way, because you kick the field goal, you lose by giving up a touchdown. And the ironic part is, and it's got nothing to do with the conversation we're having, is that Nick Bosa, who the entire game was brilliant at rushing but keeping Mahomes inside him on that 4th and 1, which basically was a fake handoff, and Patrick Mahomes, Bosa just dove inside. If he maintains his his lane and his assignment to stay outside, he's right in front of Mahomes, where maybe he has to throw it over the top to Kelsey, or maybe he doesn't have time to do that. Anyway, sorry, but that's a great point. But it's also why I would never go first. I would never want Mike McDaniel to go first in overtime. Let me figure out what I need to do, and then again, if it's a touchdown and you match it with a touchdown, then the Dolphins would have the decision going for 2 for the win, end the game right now, or trust your defense to stop him, even though they didn't stop him the first drive of overtime. So that's a different conversation, and our good buddy Adam Beasley is completely disagreeing with me, and maybe we'll do this when we have him on. So anyway, and then my last one, and this is weird because it goes against what I've been preaching in terms of why the Dolphins can't go as far into the playoffs as normally. What you got to love about the Dolphins, it's a track meet. They're just a fun team to watch. And I don't know if it's at the top, but it's up there. It's a fun team to watch. It's a track meet. There's no team in the NFL that's anywhere near that fast. I don't know that there's ever been a team in the NFL history that's ever been that fast on offense. And when it's working, damn, it's fun to watch.
Okay.
So it's kind of one of those where it's bittersweet because that style, I'm not sure really works in the playoffs, but when it works, damn, it's fun to watch.
All right. Well, that's an excellent list. And hopefully you in the comments would share your 5 reasons that you love the Miami Dolphins or believe that they have a great future. On that note, we're out tomorrow. Epic podcast. When haters unite.
No, it's going to be like, no, it's all love. Omar, what did we say? There's room for all types of opinions.
There's room for all types of opinions, and we will have some opinions on tomorrow's podcast. On that note, we're out, and we'll see you later. Visit alldolphins.com for the latest news, analysis, and columns, and it's all free. You can find Omar Kelly and Alan Poupard on the All Dolphins podcast discussing South Florida's NFL team on YouTube and anywhere you find your audio podcasts. Make sure you subscribe, like, and share so you stay in the know.